right now. Can we run Father Ron's message? He's not going to be with us in live tonight.
Pat, will you please, you can start the live stream again?
Some setting is on there has changed it.
Watch what it does.
You should see what it's doing.
Turn your background off if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't understand. For something is really weird with YouTube. And I don't know how to resolve it. So I think we'll just, unfortunately, we're probably just going to have to leave it the way it is, because I don't obviously going in here, there must be something set somewhere, and where it is, who knows?
This is a weird picture from it on YouTube.
Yeah, but just go ahead and leave it, and I'll go see if I can figure it out. Anyway,
Okay.
Well, listen,
I'm going to play Father Ron. We're
Yep.
recording right now.
Yep, we're recording it separately.
You want me to fix this? No?
Creator of the world, as modelers and makers, we recognize the
I know what's
intricacy
going on.
and the beauty of our world. We thank you for the vision and the artistry you have given us. Continue to bless us with your creative spirit. Amen. Creator of the world, as modeler.
Thank you so much, Father Ron. I really do appreciate everything that you're doing for our show. Now, as I understand it, we are recording now on YouTube and also on YouTube on Zoom. Is that correct? Phil, Pat?
Yeah, so we have a weird picture on YouTube. Don't quite know what's going on and why it's done that. We are recording it. We replace the video later on YouTube. So for those on YouTube, it's going to be not a great picture until we figure out what's going on. I'm not sure it's a setting. I think that somehow the resolution is getting screwed up between Zoom and YouTube. And I think that's the issue. So let me go see if we can figure it out.
I didn't do it.
So much. But anyway, we're going to go ahead with the show because people on YouTube
So
may
just go for it.
Okay, fine. Well, next, I'd like to start the show right now because of the technical problems. Just stop talking. I'd like to introduce Rick Barton. Rick has a company called Tennessee Valley Custom Models. He makes signs, some beautiful signs. Makes them in N scale, HOS, O scale. Rick, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. What I'd like to do is just go ahead and start the beginning of the PowerPoint.
I can't hardly hear you, Rick. I'm sorry.
Okay, is that any better if I speak up?
A little bit, yeah.
Well,
I have to go louder.
Say again?
Go a little bit louder, please.
Okay, I can kind of shout as I'm going through. Is that better?
That's
Yeah.
better.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to start the screen share and the my PowerPoint, if I may. And to do a quick question, I want to be sure that that you are on my screen.
You are. Only thing we're not getting is your screen share.
Okay. You have it now?
Nope.
So click share screen down at the bottom.
Do your share screen again.
Share
I got
screen
them. I have them.
and pick typically,
I'm showing share screen.
and then the upper left is your actual screen. Just share that. That's easiest.
sharing on mine.
There you go.
You
Better?
are sharing.
Okay, thank you. All right, Jim, thanks very much for having me on. Waiting for my PowerPoint to finally to why it's not doing anything.
Promise I didn't do it.
I assume you're not getting the full screen, correct?
No, we're not. We're not getting your share screen of the PowerPoint. You'll have to double click on your PowerPoint sometimes to get it to come up.
Why don't you try it again? For some reason, it didn't come through. And it may be a bandwidth issue from your end. I'm not sure.
I don't know why that would be.
You're frozen now.
Yeah, because now I'm not getting into Zoom at all.
This is a bad night. We
It
should
really
start
is.
all over again.
I've been running it all day long. It's been running just fine.
I think you should move on.
Yeah, Jim,
Yep. I'm trying to get a chair working here. All right, let's do this. We'll come back to Rick in a few minutes. Let me introduce Martin Brechbiel. You all have seen Martin before. Martin's building a great trolley kit. Actually, I like that very much because I'm a trolley modeler. So Martin, welcome. Martin's not here?
I think you should just shoot for Tom. He looks ready. Go
Okay,
for Tom Yorke. He looks ready. He's
Tom. Okay, Martin may be here later. I don't know what's happened with him. So let me introduce. So let me try to introduce Tom Yorke. Tom. Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for being here this evening, sir.
Okay. We've got a lot of stuff to do today because I was absent last week.
We got all kinds of time.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to finish the. I'm going to put a little more brown on it. And I'm just going to put a little bit of water. Okay. There. All right. Now let's see if I've got it working right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we've got a little bit on there. I can't turn it up like that.
Yep.
Because it'll run. You don't want to mix it too much like this. You want it to settle and dry where the blobs are. Because if you roll it too much, it's just going to make a perfectly uniform surface. Okay, so I've just got that on there.
Yep.
We're going to let that dry. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the last piece of roofing on. Now that's the, now this is very special material. It comes from a restaurant. It's napkins. And it's almost like model airplane silk span. I'm not sure if that's available anymore because they use plastic now. But there's no pattern on it, and it's a thick material. So if you go out to eat and you get a napkin like that, don't use it. Put it in your pocket. But what we're gonna do, oops, okay. I'll use wherever my, well, I'm going to use my big bristle brush, and we're going to use white glue if we can get it to work. Okay. White glue is very forgiving. It's not going to show up in the finished model. Okay, I've just put it on there, and now I want to put some on the. Okay. And this is just painted flat black. Now it's kind of. Okay. Okay, now we can put it on. Now the tar paper does not go at a 90-degree angle from the roof to the parapet wall. It goes on a 45 chamfer. So what I've done is you can put a wood 45 in there if you want, but I just do it by eye. And you press it in. Now this can be, the sides can be trimmed later, but you want to make sure it's down there. And then you give it one more coat. This looks good and sloppy, but trust me, it works in the end. You want to make sure that you get the overlap totally glued down. Otherwise, it'll start peeling up. And that's all there is to it. I mean, it looks terrible right now, but when it dries, it will disappear. So that's that part. Now, what I'm going to do here, the corrugated is put on, and it was just painted gray. It's a thin coat of gray, so it's not a perfect solid coat. And what I will use after that's dry is Folk Art Metallic Silver. You can see that. I have to store it upside down because it's impossible to mix. So the heavy stuff has to be at the top. Okay. And all I do is all we're going to do is there you go. Just put a little bit on. We're just trying to get some silver on there, not over the whole thing. That gives it just a little bit of gloss. And that it there you can see the silver's not covering the whole thing. It's just a little bit on there. That's one thing. Let me try and quickly clean my brush. And I should clean this one. And this, of course, is not the way you clean brushes. Okay. Now what we're going to do is something that many modelers have not done, and that's put metal flashing on the roof. I use, let me get that. We're back. This is aluminum air conditioning tape. And this is great stuff. It has a backing. And if you use a razor blade, you can cut the little strips out. Don't cut it all the way through. If you do, you'll have to use a razor blade to try and pick out the surface. So all I did was, I will take that little piece. Okay. Whew. Now, I'm going to put it on the top of the false front. If I can see it. Let's see. Okay. It's just sitting on the top of the front. And what I'll do is I'll mash it down and I'll put it over. So it comes out over the front. And over, you can mash it down over the side. It folds upon itself very nicely. And then what I'll do is I'll just put it in the cracks of the. So that's your. I'll see if I can get another one here and put another one on. Okay, we've got that one on there. It's best not to use one piece because flashing doesn't come in 20-foot lengths. And just put it down over the. And get the back in the corrugated grooves. And that's what you've got there. It's over the front just a little bit. Hard to get it to reflect. But that's done on the top. And it's also done between the tar paper and the corrugated, which I can't put on right now because it's wet. But that just gets folded and you put it on in a small piece and just mash it down. The next thing we're going to do okay. This is what the decal looks like when it's new. Now, I will always spray dull coat over my decals before I take them off the sheet. It just makes them a little bit thicker. And this is the finished one where it's weathered. Now what I do, stores will sell little brushes like these. This is, what is it? It's $5.99 and it came from Hobby Lobby, but Michael's or Joanne Fabrics has them. There's about 5 or 6 little brushes in here. And those are very good to use. They're not artist quality brushes. They're just nice little brushes, and they'll last a good while if you clean them. Okay, now what I've got here, oh, that's pretty much dry.
Mhm.
So it's just a little bit darker. All right, what I will do. First of all, okay. I got so many bright. This is one of my super duper patented weathering brushes. It's what happens to one of these brushes after a while. What I will do, this is basically going to be dry brush. You're going to use the paint full strength, but you're going to use a very, very little bit. See if I've got a little bit. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's a little bit on there.
Yep.
I'm going to try just a little bit more. Don't be afraid to obliterate a letter. I mean, it happens. Okay, there we go. And that's what we've got there. Now you can also do this in brown because you've got some brown showing through. And oh, I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, it's not going to go too well because I haven't mixed the brown. But anyway, that's, and you can see where some of the brown is showing through. You should go over the top of that brown where the letters are and brown the letters a little bit. Over here, it's really white, so there's no brown showing through.
Yeah.
Now what I do is take this little tiny brush. It's hard for me to see what I'm doing, but I will just dot it. And you want a very small brush for this, because all you're putting is little tiny dots on it. I don't know if you can see that on the R. Well, yeah, it's on the R. And I'll do the. And there's the G. And we can put a little bit up here. And there's it's on the W. But that's all you have to do to weather the sign a little bit. And you just do that with the whole sign. Now, where it is brown behind the letter, you can use brown paint and dot it slightly so so the lettering blends into either the white or the brown, the painted wood or the bare wood. And that's all that's done there. Now we're going to do the rear wall. Okay. This is what the rear wall looks like. This is what I've got on it so far. Now I've used the same napkin that was painted black. And what I'll do is I'll just tear see what I got down here. Come on.
Tom, you said a few minutes ago that you spray your decals with dull coat before you remove the decals from the back of the
Yes.
paper. Do you spray them again before you start weathering?
Yes, because that gives it a flat surface, and the paint
Got
picks
it.
up better on a flat surface.
And do you do it one last time after you finish your wet?
After it's all weathered, yes.
Gotcha.
So that's what the little piece looks like.
Yeah.
And what I will do, uh, uh, without gluing your hands to the paper. Okay, we've got a little bit of glue on there. And we'll blot it on.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got that piece. Now what we'll do.
Tom, we're almost out of time here, so I don't want to rush it because
Okay.
you come next week to finish it, but
Okay, well, we'll put one of these pieces on.
okay.
This is just a little chunk of wood. It goes over the joint. And it looks like that.
I'll be darned.
And if there's one final thing, this is a piece of that corrugated aluminum, which I will bend up a little bit. I will put, because the door window gets covered. Come on. Okay. And I will just mash that in there. And there it's covered. And then if I've got some quick uh, 1 minute here. Dry pigment. It's probably a good idea to go ahead and put a light coat of dull coat on here because it'll seal the surface and the dry pigment will stick better. But that's basically all there is to that. And I can quickly announce this
A1 taxi. That's something.
that's
That's going to be available when?
a copy about midsummer.
Okay.
It's a there's only going to be 20 available. 11 of them are gone already. It's taken from a real building, and this is just given it's a stucco front, and I just put some brown on here so you can see the detail.
You only got 9 of those kits left, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So if you want one midsummer, you better order it today.
Yeah.
Tom, we'll see you next week. Thanks so very much.
All right.
That's right. Well, Mr. Barton, how about you? Are you ready?
He says he is.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
Let's give this a step-by-step try. You hear me okay by voice, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm sharing my screen. And do you have my screen?
No.
Yes.
Now, yes, I do now.
Okay.
I
As soon
don't
as I
have
start,
it. I don't have it full screen, but I have a picture on the screen.
okay. Start the PowerPoint.
Oh yeah.
Now, do you have full screen or is it split?
So Rick, you have 2 screens, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what I want you to do is reshare, go back to Zoom. You're going to have to click on the bottom where you see the Zoom icon at the bottom of your screen where the toolbar is. You'll see a Zoom icon. It's a blue thing.
Let me do this. Let me go to Martin Brechbiel, and Rick, I'll come back to you in a few minutes.
I agree.
Gotcha. So Martin, I saw that you're here now, and Martin is building this great trolley kit that I'm impressed with. So Martin, let me introduce you, sir.
Oh, goody. Yeah. I almost have the slides finished, but I think we'll go anyhow.
Oh, okay.
It's been a near thing. It's been a near thing.
Do you want me to come back to
Oh,
you later?
we're going. We're going.
Okay.
Ready or not, here we go. We're going to stay on schedule or something that pretends to be. So this is part 3. You watch the first 2, or you can go get the first 2. They're on the web and somewhere and somehow. Okay, so there's where we left off last week. We're going to add these 3 pieces of wood at the top here. But first we're going to saw these ears off, because if we take them off later, we're just going to have projecting end grain. So it's easier just to take them off here, forget about it, and be done with them. So right where those lines are on a razor saw, flip it over and carefully just saw those right off. Avoid the fingers. Keep the fingers attached to the hands at all times. So, and there's some door molding here. Well, let's go, just keep going on to the next slide. So there you are. Those are the end pieces. They've been added on. It's a little tricky because you've got to cut these angles, make things fit together. So there's some fitting, sanding, shaping, put it in place, sand it some more, make sure it fits, glue it in place. So those are the letterboard filler pieces, which implies there will be a letterboard later because they're the filler pieces. We'll come back to the letterboard maybe tonight yet. Okay, I skipped over these last week. I put them in now because I wasn't quite sure about them. There's just this nice quarter round that frames out the side doors. So each door gets 2 of these. Butts up against this piece right here, straight up the side of the door, down the side of this door. It's pretty simple and straightforward. A little bit of glue, drop it in place. You're good to go. We're going to come back to this gap over here though, because it's not supposed to be there. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to do the ends. The rest of the ends. Okay. Windowsill, some strip wood covered 1 end yellow. Yeah, the 1 end yellow board was about more than a scale foot wide. And that seems just like a little bit much for the end of this trolley, and it's going to project out over everything. I was thinking, you know, this windowsill shouldn't be much bigger than this piece of quarter round. It's going to go here, and otherwise it just seemed a little weird. So I substituted in some 1x3, which sort of matches this quarter round that goes here. We'll come back to that end. Then we have this these beveled pieces. These are kind of interesting. They're actually in the box. The green one supposedly goes over here, right in this section here. Well, that sort of seems to work. The red one then actually is so wide that it actually covers up part of the window, which seemed wrong. So we're just going to forget about that piece. We'll come back to something else that goes in there. Be brave, be fearless, just substitute whatever feels better and looks good for you. Template E, we're going to need template E. It's on the last page of the instructions. This is where it's kind of useful to download the PDF because you can just print out that page, make a second copy, because what's in the box is all folded up and not flat. Nice to have something you can just print out, and if you spill something on it, you can always just print another one out. So having the templates they're going to come in handy later. So what do we do? Well, first of all, we got to put this little quarter round on here, and that's in the box. It's actually quite small. The picture in the book, in a box, instructions have this as huge. It's actually very small. So it's actually color coded. It's the piece that goes there. It's a very small piece, actually. It's like 3/64 quarter round or 32nd quarter round. It's very small. Okay, that gap here was in here. Just, it's interesting enough, a 4x4 fits right in that hole. So everybody's got 4x4s. You build structures, you build stuff. It's a standard size. Slap a couple of 4x4s in, all of a sudden the holes are filled. Windowsills, I said I substituted 1x3. They drop right in. A little bit of angle to sand here, a little bit of an angle to sand here, a little bit of glue on the edge, drop it into place, easily done. How high do you put it? Well, you put it as high as the, it's interesting. I would have thought to have done this maybe earlier, but you glue the panel here first. Might have helped. But we'll put the end panels in anyhow now. That's all pre-cut, so you can just measure it off of that. I didn't, but they fit anyhow. So I guessed in the right location as to where the windowsills were going to go. It fits nicely. They fill the corners nicely. The green bevel casing fits nicely over top. That 4x4 frames out the window fairly nicely. I added a couple of pieces of 1x3 here at the bottom because it just looked kind of naked here at the bottom. It just looked too flush, like it needed a little three-dimensional relief and be framed as opposed to just being naked and simple there. Okay. So I added some more 1x3 at the top, and just to bring it in a little here, there's a piece of 1x2 down the inside edge. All standard sizes. So easily done. You get your nice sharp number 10 scalpel blade out, and you can cut yourself 1x3s, 1x2s, and no cutting of the fingers, please. There was no blood let on this model yet. Okay, so you want to flip it over, template E, there it is. And you want to sand as reasonably close as you can to template E. Now you want to sneak up on that. Don't get too aggressive. It's really soft wood. Use too coarse a piece of sand, a sanding stick, sanding block, sanding sponge, whatever it is whatever your implement of destruction is, sneak up on it gently. Get close. Stop when you get close enough. Close enough is when you say, that looks good. It looks like I'm pretty close to the template line. Okay. This piece of wood is actually two of these in one piece. And they're in the box, combination blue and green. And you want to roll a small round object back and forth on the backside. That's the backside of the piece of wood. This is a family show. Don't go there. That one stick does both ends. So you want to curl this up, center it, and cement it to the end radius, keeping it flush at the top. Easily said, not so easily done, perhaps. Depends how talented you are at curling a piece of wood. It's not bent wood. You're not steam treating it to bend it. You're just compressing it with a piece of glass. In my case, there's my small round object, a 25 milliliter scintillation vial. And I just put the wood on top of this soft piece of cloth backing, rolled it back and forth aggressively until it curled up on me nicely. It actually works. And here's one of those. You just slap it into place, now ends secured. I used glue, took it apart, added CA, put it back together, flipped it back upside down, and put some weights and some blocks against the end just to make sure, because I didn't trust it. Now it's trust but verify. Well, this is, don't trust it and verify it. Be sure it did what you wanted it to do. Because I've had these just pop off. You come back the next morning and it's half on and half off. And fixing that is a royal pain. So here's your curved piece. That's what it looks like from the top. Once you've got it done, so you snip off the ends, sand it flush at the ends, and there's your letterboard. That's relieved so the door can open. I have to come back and put a doorknob on that, or a latch or something. I don't know. I need some hardware. So that gets the end pretty much complete. Okay, now we're going to get daring. Well, we're going to start the process of getting really daring, and we're going to look at the roof. So we have, I can't read my own slides, but there's window inserts. These pieces, you have to put these in, glue these in from each side, from the inside. It actually drops into place almost perfectly. And then you have to put these little pieces in between the windows, little casing pieces. Brown end, blue, both ends blue. Okay, well, and sanding the roof to the correct length, well, we'll come back to that next week with a little bit of luck. I'm not feeling lucky at this point. So that's fair warning, Jim. So there's your roof parts. You have this, actually it's a really nice piece of roofing. Being a trolley roof, it's a little narrow. Here's your inserts. They go in from the inside. This is the both ends blue stick. Let's go back. The both ends blue stick is supposed to fit in here. No, that's not happening. The both ends brown stick. Maybe they got them backwards. No, this is still too wide for in here. So I just substituted stuff again. Fancy that. Surprise, surprise. I made substitutions. But they just aren't going to work. I don't understand how it's going to work. Okay, so glue the window inserts in place. Okay, so bit of a gap at this end. These are actually about 1 millimeter short for the space. on both ends. Okay, well, that's the joys of laser cutting and not verifying again. These are a little bit off. So we're going to cover that up. I know the instructions didn't have a board there. We're covering it up anyhow. And same with the other end. We're just going to be consistent. So let's scale 1x3, and I showed 2x12. And that's what you get when you put 2x12s and 1x3s. Well, HO 2x12s and O scale 1x3s in those spaces. And everything fits pretty nicely. It doesn't look too bad, even in person. And then we're going to test fit it. And this is why I'm not so sure I'll be back next week, maybe 2 weeks, because the ends of the roof might be 1/8 of an inch short over the car body, which means somehow, some way, I'm going to have to extend this roof 1/8 of an inch at both ends. Fun, fun, and more fun. And it's end grain, which makes it even more fun to extend. It makes it an interesting challenge for a little bit of wood joinery, woodcraft. We're going to have fun with it nonetheless. I promise you, there will be fun had. There will be colorful language, I'm sure. Strong drinks will be consumed, but there will be fun nonetheless. And again, be brave. It won't hurt too much unless you're sloppy with a scalpel. So we're going to stop here, gather your wits, and prepare for shaping the roof. That might be next week, or it might be in 2 weeks, depending on how much horror I encounter and whether or not this involves blood sacrifice. Anyhow, that's where we're stopping. And any questions, comments, extortion demands?
Like you said
Stretcher.
before,
Use my wood stretcher. That's a great idea.
like you said before, this is what's fun about building kits. They're a challenge.
Yeah, soak it in water so it swells up and nail it down so it won't shrink. I like that one too. I'm still thinking I might sacrifice a couple of chickens. You know.
Let me know if the belt sander works.
Oh, well, that's hard to put wood back on. It's great for removing it, but the reverse process for some reason just doesn't seem to work right. Even if you run the belt sander backwards, it doesn't work.
We
And
trust you, Art. We trust you. We'll see
I
you
can
next
run
week.
mine backwards, but okay. Have fun with that.
Yeah, we trust you. See you
Oh
next
boy. Brave souls, brave souls.
week. Absolutely. All right, so next let's talk to Mr. Tom Farrell, who is scratch building his layout. Mr. Farrell with us next week because your son is graduating from med school, am I correct?
Where did Tom go?
Yeah, he's graduating after 12 years of schooling. Period.
Congratulations to both of you.
Yeah. So thank you for having me again this evening. And let me just get right into it. I have a few things up for you today. Everybody can hear me?
Fine.
I ran across an old model of mine from 1970. And I realized I was scratch building now for 52 years, put things in perspective, being 62 years of age. So that model to the right is pretty old. Half a century, amazing, right?
Yeah.
And the model on my left is what I consider my best. So I built that model on the right when I was only 10 years old. I don't think it's such a bad effort, really.
I don't either. I think it's great.
That's in N scale, by the way. So interesting that I still have it, and there's a size comparison. Yeah. I think the coal coming out of it's just about right for O scale, but I was only 10 years old. Anyway, I had to throw this in this evening. Yeah, thought it was interesting.
Young eyes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you how I build tunnel portals. There's going to be 3 things on tonight. This is one. First thing, the tools are very simple, just a roller, a square, an X-Acto knife, and this, I don't know if you guys use these gauges that are available from the NMRA, I believe. I purchased this so long ago, I think that's where I got it, but it's, I use it for a template for clearance on track, but mostly for making tunnel portals, single tunnel portals. That material there on the right, that is some sort of fiber board that I don't know where it came from. It's not quite cardboard, not quite fiberglass. So the first thing is just to outline the gauge on there and get yourself general idea how large you want your tunnel portal. And then you simply cut out the fibrous board, or it could be plywood or basswood. That's my background base material. And then I begin adding the background wood. Now that is a little cheat. I don't know if you guys have ever used ship decking. That's what this is from. It's from another hobby, not my hobby, just from another discipline. It's a basswood that's 050 thick. It's available from Northeastern Scale Lumber. It comes 3 inches wide and 24 inches long, and it comes off as it makes your tunnel portals go real fast. I can tell you that. You don't have to hand lay each piece of material, and since they're individual pieces of basswood, it comes off as individual pieces of glued basswood. Or basswood. So there it is, all installed, all fastened by no doubt super glue at this time when I did it. And I've begun staining it there with just an alcohol wash, a brown alcohol wash. But you can see it's all individual pieces of wood. And then I start adding the bracing. And this is simply in this particular case, 1 foot by 1 foot, 1/4 inch basswood that I've textured with my special X-Acto blade that puts that graining on there. You can also use a razor saw. There we are with a little deeper stain on there, and see in the background that ship decking does come off as individual pieces. And here I've added the Grant line 2.5 inch nuts and rectangular washers. They have them all different sizes. They can be round, square, rectangular. You simply drill a hole, super glue them in place. And I put a little rust color on there. The rest of the model, that's the same model. I took a walnut stain and I mixed it with an acrylic white paint, and I did a wash to get that look to it. So that's a blend of acrylic white paint and a stain. It's that nice washed out look. And here's where they're going on the layout. This is a preview of the location and some unfinished work on to the right of what you've all seen over the past couple of weeks. This is the next scene I'm working on, a little preview shot. Next up is some trackside detailing. This is what separates, I think, some of the railroads from other railroads, is the attention to detail. And it's really simple to do, just a question of patience. So if you recall this scene from previous shows that I demonstrated how I built that retaining wall. Now the retaining wall's in place, weathered, there's weeds around it, old railroad ties, old fish plates. The track has begun to be weathered. I painted the spike heads. I've stained the ballast with an alcohol wash, and it's just all coming together here. There's a close-up. See those quote old railroad ties? I stained them multiple colors, and then I went back where the fish plates would have been. You see the rust marks. Just a nice little detail, you know, real simple to do. And then close up of one of my details on one of my flat cars. Didn't realize it was that up close and personal. That's see the sheet metal corrugated siding. That's just from a recent project. I don't throw my scraps away. I deposit them at various places along the layout. Same with the rail. You know, I'm not cutting up fresh, you know, flex track or track to put down these rails. It's just scrap rail that I paint and bend and put it super glued in place. There's up close of the sheet metal. It's just scrap material from my workbench and a couple of the railroad ties with the washes. There's another view of another section. Just adds, you know, I'm always saying visual interest, something to catch your eye. You do this all over the layout and it becomes what we call super detailed. We talked a little about, maybe it was pre-show, about 3D printed materials. By coincidence, I have a 3D printed sand spout for this scratch-built sand tower that I made quite some time ago, but I thought it was an interesting project. So this is a scratch-built sand tower, and that's a 3D printed spout. I'll show you how that was made. You could probably print this in one shot now, but when this was made about 5 years ago, maybe. You can see, I don't know if you can see in the detail, as printed, it's not quite round and cleaned up below. I mean, I just took sandpaper to it, made it round, and I took an X-Acto knife and bored that hole in that piece. You'll see how this all goes together in a moment. So the idea is, off of that pipe are individual pieces that were printed and slid on there and super glued in place. I had a prototype picture from the Durango sand tower, and I just mimicked it with this. I did the drawing, and my brother has the 3D printer, so I emailed him the files, and I used an old CAD program called TurboCAD 3D, but it worked for me. And they were simple drawings, really, nothing to it. It'd be a little more complicated to draw that in one shot. I'm sure you could do it now with some of the other CAD programs. There's another view of the sand spout. This stuff really doesn't exist in the marketplace. So you're either making it yourself or you're buying a kit, I suppose. And here's where I've added some brass wire. And see how this all goes together. There's another view. When it's all put together, you swear it would actually function, actually work. One of the things, there's a Facebook page called 3D Printing for Model Trains. It's been on place for years now, but they use my photograph for the their cover photo. I just checked. I didn't realize it was still up there, but I'll bet you this is 5-6 years old. So they're still using my picture, which is kind of neat. There's a close-up of the finished sand tower with the brass wire, the chain, the counterweight up top. This is all scratch built. And there's more of those Grant line nuts and washers. These are the round washer where the tunnel portal had the rectangular washer. This is a nice detail item that's available in HO scale and O scale. So we went pretty quick tonight, but covered a lot of ground. Yeah.
Very impressive. I love those tunnel portals you made. I think that's just fantastic.
They're an easy thing to do, and when you use that ship decking and those Grant line either round, square, or rectangular washers, it's a nice detail item. You can see the photograph on the right of the sand tower. It made an appearance again, and obviously on my big 14-inch high coal tower there, old Gothic coal incorporated. They're all over that. It just adds a nice detail to it. You know.
Where did you get the ship?
The ship decking basswood is from Northeastern Scale Lumber.
Okay.
It's also available.
Come in sheets, or how do you buy it?
It comes 3 inches wide, 24 inches long, and it's 0.50 thick. And it comes in 4 different widths. So you can get, from memory, you can get 16th inch, 1/8 inch, 3/16 of an inch, and 3/32. 3/32 is what I'm using there. That's the width of the boards, the basswood boards, and they're glued with a black adhesive. So I mean, it's literally ready to go. I've been using them for tunnel liners, and sometimes like this, the actual tunnel itself, tunnel portal itself is the background. It works for that. It works pretty effectively. Yeah.
Take stain, okay?
Yeah, it's just like basswood. It is basswood, and the glue doesn't interfere with anything. It comes out just black.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
you can get it from Micromark too. They're a distributor of the Northeastern Scale
Okay.
Ship decking anyway.
Thanks so much, Tom. It's a great looking model.
Thank you.
All right, let me go to Mr. Phil Edholm, who's going to talk to us about the local clubs and our NMRA divisions around the country. Phil, welcome.
It would help if I unmuted. So hang on just a moment. I've got a. It's always a challenge finding people here.
You want me to go to Rick while you
Yeah,
do
go
that?
to Rick. Go back to Rick and try Rick real quick. Hey, hang on.
sorry.
Hey, I've got
Rick?
Frank here. Oh, I hit the wrong button. There's Frank. Frank's here.
Okay.
There's Frank and there's me, and we'll spotlight each of us and we'll be all set.
Welcome, Phil.
There we go. Welcome, Frank. So I'm going to introduce Frank. Howdy, howdy. And Frank and I are going to have an interesting discussion about publications. So this is tonight's version of NMRA Divisions and Local Clubs. And so I think I'll let Frank first just talk a little bit about his role and what he's doing, and then we can kind of lead off from there. So Frank, why don't I just let you introduce yourself and talk about yourself as a modeler and kind of what you're doing in terms of publications, etc.
All right, sounds good. Hi, I'm Frank Duder. I am the leader of Cordial Company Crossing Model Railroad Club in Snow Hill, Maryland, and we are focusing on young engineers, education, and that sort of thing. We're trying to bring young guys in the hobby. That's what our main goal is. We have a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old, 10-year-old and an 11-year-old now. and we do a train camp every year. This is the first year since COVID started to help try to educate kids, get parents involved, that sort of thing. And we also do train races. We do a lot of different events throughout the year. We have open houses, and we encourage the kids to ask to play with the trains. We have an open road that goes all the way around the layout that kids can push cars, little Hot Wheels on, which is kind of cool. But yeah, that's a little intro of what we do and about me. So.
Cool.
Yep.
I actually have a slide here. I think this is kind of a little bit about what you do and shows some of the shots of the kids actually, the young engineers operating.
Yes. So yep. So our camp is this year, the last week of June, the Tuesday to Thursday, 5 to 7. We don't have AC or heat up there. We do have heat now, but it gets a little toasty in the attic. It's about a 40 by 60 foot layout, scale 3 rail, which is really cool. So if on the far right picture there, the boy in the tie-dye shirt and the tall boy in the center, they're actually their parents are in the club now, which is really cool, and they bring them up there all the time. And the one on the right, very right in the tie-dye shirt, he knows more about trains than any other person I really know, even me. So it's kind of cool there too.
So yeah, I think this is a really interesting kind of program you run because you're engaging kids, young people, but you're also engaging their parents. So tell me a little bit about how you publicize it, how you run it, what a typical day is like, just kind of all the kind of elements of the program you put together. How do you publicize it?
So so full time I'm a stewardship coordinator at a land trust. So I do a lot of outreach stuff and that sort of thing. But mainly we have a website, we have Facebook, Instagram, and I send press releases to local newspapers and TV stations. And every once in a while we get a little emails that, hey, can we get some shots? And they put it in there. There's a local TV station that loves doing that. I have a YouTube channel, and we have quite a few YouTubers running in to help as well.
So how many students, how many young engineers do you typically get then for this session you're doing on 2023? How many do you think you'll have?
So I max it out at 8. I'm aiming for 6, but last time I did it pre-COVID, it maxed out at 8. So, and
Okay.
the year before that, I had unlimited. That was a bad idea. But yeah.
So you got
I had
so
like
really
12 that time.
so you're saying 8 is kind of the maximum. Now, how many volunteers do you have working then when they're there?
So we encourage a parent to stay with, so it helps out there very well. Usually have me and then like the couple guys in the club. So it's 6 of us in the club. So get them up there. Usually 2 or 3 show up a night. So maybe more than that.
So you actually brought up a really interesting point, because I know one of the things that a lot of us that are in organizations, we all have an interest engaging with young people, but I think everyone's been a little bit concerned because of some of the issues that have come up, over the past few years. So do you ask the parents to stay, or is it mandatory that they stay?
We have them to when I send out the paperwork, I have them bold print on the Facebook page. I have bold print. We ask the parents to stay, and that way, well, mainly because we use MTH DCS Wi-Fi. That way, we have enough of devices for everybody. I only have a spare phone and a one tablet, so kind of need it. But we encourage the parents to stay, and in the past, almost every time the parents stayed, and now we like I said, we picked up a couple of parents along the way, and one's an actual licensed electrician, which makes it nice.
Cool. So then explain kind of how the day goes. What time do the kids arrive? Do the young people arrive, and how long are they there, and kind of what does the day look like then?
So usually start around 5 o'clock. We sit downstairs. It's a little bit cooler that way, and have a little fun. We talk it over expectations, rules, that sort of thing. Then we go upstairs and I show them for like day one would be how to use the trains properly. Don't crash them. Show where everything is on the layout, and then maybe get them to move around a little bit, get some internet out, and then at the end we go downstairs and we have upstairs.
Frank, is there some way that you can do something with your microphone, because you're breaking up awfully bad?
Yeah, I think he was having actually a bandwidth challenge.
Oh, okay.
So why don't we see if he comes back and we can continue? I think we got most of the way down the questions I wanted to get to. I thought it was incredibly interesting having, this kind of an event where you were actually bringing young people in like that. And I think we kind of got a pretty good idea of what it looks like. But let's see if he comes back. I mean, maybe this is a good time to jump. Oh.
Yep. Yeah, my internet dropped. Sorry about that.
There you go.
There we go.
That's much better, Frank. Thank you.
There we go. Are you back there, Frank?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think your internet's kind of fighting you a little bit there.
Yeah.
So you were saying that, kind of the get the kids when they come in, you get them familiar with the layout and kind of how things work and how to use a throttle. So I assume you're using all DCC then, or the equivalent thereof.
Yeah. DCS. Yeah.
DCS. Yep. And so this is then 2 days that they're with you?
3 days. 3 evenings. Yep.
And so at the end of that, then you give them a junior engineer certificate, and then
Yep. So basically, it invites them. I give them a little slip. Invites them when we have open houses. Come on up there, and you're free to play trains. So
cool. So you kind of certify them, and that's kind of an on ramp to membership then as well.
Yeah. Sort of. Yeah.
Good. Well, good luck. So you have six so far this year, and it sounds like you got to go out and do a little more recruiting.
I hope so. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about trying to talk to some of the local schools, to science and math teachers, and see if you get, because they may know some youngsters that would be really interested,
That's really hard around here. This is a very rural area, so it's actually pretty hard. So unfortunately.
That's good. Well, thanks, Frank. I really appreciate it. I think that's great info. I think we all heard about this. It was pretty exciting. I want to put back up kind of the program here, because I think that's a really good thing to kind of see. The idea of how you position it and how you drive it and the value. So thanks again. Really appreciate it. And
can you go to the last slide real quick? With the trailer?
I don't know that I have one with the trailer. Hang on, let me see if I do. I don't. Okay. I think those were the only ones I ended up getting from you that I put in. Yeah, I hang on. Oh no, here we go. Hang on, I do have some. There, here we go. This was actually some images of the layout I think we had.
Yep. And it's actual real water in that river there. So
a couple of your young engineers.
Yeah.
I think then this is your trailer that you go out with.
Yep. So that's the Shore Boys Railroad trailer. They travel to Eastern Shore, Maryland, and it's really cool what they do. I join them every once in a while, and they travel around, and it's a 40 trailer, and it's full of O scale and then G scale trains. It's really cool, and it's basically outreach, and kids can play with it and all that sort of thing.
Well, that's good. That's really good. I think the obviously your layout's very attractive and interesting. It seems like there's a lot of animation and kind of the things that go with that. If I kind of look at this is your space then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And the middle section there, that's going to be converted to HO for the kids.
Ah,
The two boys are actually building that together.
well,
So-
that's good. Oh, they're getting set there. They've got their HO all laid out. That's
Yep.
excellent. So, yeah, no, I think this is, it's one of the challenges of how do you engage young people that are interested in trains, and it sounds like you guys have really established a way to do it. So I guess the one thing I come back to, for those people that are concerned, have you guys done anything in terms of vetting yourselves or as a group, or are you just not concerned about, any issues? Because I think that's always been one of the concerns that organizations have come to is, like if you go to the Boy Scouts now, they have fairly significant rules for how they vet people that are working with young people. And that was why having the parents stay all the time becomes so interesting, whether the parents need to stay or don't have to stay versus, the vetting of the volunteers. Have you guys thought about that at all, or just kind of look around and say we're
not
okay?
really- not really concerned about at this point. It's something start expanding the program.
Frank,
Hey, I think your internet's gone again. So I think what we're going to do is probably say thank you. I think we got the answers for that one. But I really impressed. Great program. And I hope some others that hear it take advantage and think about it as an opportunity for them. And Frank will be available. You can contact him by contacting me or Jim if you'd like to talk to him. So thanks again, Frank.
Frank, you're running a great program, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. I appreciate your time, and best of luck to you. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Jim. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Well, now let me go to Rick Barton, because Rick has a door prize that we're going to award as soon as he tells us about his company and his products. So, Rick, let me come to you, and the floor is yours, sir.
All right, I'm going to go straight on and let's try the share screen here again.
Okay.
One last time, nothing can go wrong. All
There we
right.
go.
Okay, it was easy
Yes.
enough. I just unplugged the other screen.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jim, for having me on, making sure my voice is coming through real well this time. I recently purchased a little bit about me. I got into trains when I was about 5 years old. Met a young boy in kindergarten by the name of Tim Dickinson, lifelong friend, and through him got involved in trains. So I have a law enforcement background, and playing with trains kept me from drinking after hard cases. Tim sadly passed away in June of last year after a long career with Southern Pacific and Union Pacific. Any of those folks who may or may not have known him, if you go on YouTube and Google or you type in Tim Dickinson Model Railroad, you'll see some fantastic videos of him. So I'm originally from California. I moved back here to Maryland about 3 years ago, kind of after my house burned down in Northern California, and along with the whole town of Paradise. Since being back here, I have an actual basement. Those things in California are called holes in the ground and crawl spaces. And since joined the B&O Museum, I'm a docent and conductor on the trains and stuff like that, having a blast. So with Tennessee Valley Custom Models, it's a railroad and roadway sign business that was originally started by a young man by the name of Ian Puglisi in Cleveland, Tennessee. Younger guy, and he started it pretty good, but just found, just like most of us, he didn't really have time to keep it going. And so I purchased it back in April of 2022. Unfortunately, he had a very sophisticated program thing going and on the platform. it was frustrating to me. I procrastinated and it sat for a little bit, but now it's online. We started it online live in January of 2023. So now I've got a bunch of stuff. And for the most part, this is what I sell. And especially for the modelers that we have in our group here, every one of you is capable of doing these on your own. I'm going to walk you through what I do. You can buy from me and save time. I'll ship them to you or make them yourself. For me, it's not about making a small fortune. I don't think I can making small signs, but it's worth a try. So for all of the these that are up here, most of these are on my website right now. I'm trying to add things all the time. Some of the things are not on there. So if you see something that's not on the website that you want, or anywhere out there, let me know. Contact me. Stop signs and stuff like that. Just to let you know, the hospital signs here, I have several more on the website than those. Same thing with the parking signs. I put 7 or 8 of those. Also, there's the no parking and the handicap parking, different things. I also am doing the common modern US and Canadian standard rail signs using different prototypes. These are some of the examples of the things that I am selling right now. Some of them are not quite on the website yet, just due to lack of time and going through conductor school. These are all available also for me. Also, railroad specific products. Most of these are coming soon. I just got authorized by Union Pacific to sell things that are unique to Union Pacific, Southern Pacific, Rio Grande, anything that was a predecessor railroad. And surprisingly enough, Union Pacific was the easiest one to get authorization from. And I know they are really picky, and I've heard some horror stories about how difficult it is to get something from them. I've been verbally authorized by BNSF for them and their predecessor railroads, but I haven't got the official email yet. Pending, I'm CSX, Southern, and CPKCS, and Canadian Northern. And that was my cat. You'll see her in a little bit. There's more to her. CSX I'm really looking forward to them because my background, other than chasing trains up and down the Cajon Pass and Southern Pacific and stuff, my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, worked for the Wabash his entire career. He started in the mailroom, went to college, worked his way up and became the assistant to the president of the Wabash, which is basically a very highly paid gopher. And he transferred over to NNW and moved from St. Louis to Roanoke, where he retired. His father also worked for the Wabash for many, many years. I initially was so happy when I got to go visit my grandfather because he worked for the Wabash, except that when he went to work, he went into an office and it was boring as hell. He didn't do any of the fun stuff. I did get to ride in a locomotive a couple of times. But so these are among the signs that I'll be offering on the website. I do my signs all in N, HO, S, and O scales. It's been a lot of fun. I've been HO my entire life. When I moved back to Maryland, I got a fresh start since everything burned up, and I decided to stay with HO. Working in little signs, I have gotten a new appreciation. I love O scalers and S scalers. HO folks are pretty good. N scale people, you guys are scary and weird, especially when I'm making very small signs. So just throwing that out. What I think makes my signs unique, and there are a lot of other folks that are out there making signs. Blair Wine makes some very nice ones. Tichy makes some very nice ones, and a couple other folks, some smaller companies and stuff. And so you can find them everywhere. One of the things that has always been an issue for me is that that the signs are not always scale. When I'm doing HO, I wanted things to look scale, size, realistic, not too thick. So that was part of what I did with this company. When I got it initially, there were just a few posts. The posts were standard size wood. I added scale 4x4s, scale 6x6. Both of them are basswood points. They're both prototypical. Obviously, the 6x6 is a little bit more sturdy. Also, I added color variations, a faded white, a brown stain, or a simulated creosote stain. And you can see those on the lower right. You can also see kind of the difference in the size of the posts. The 6x6 versus the 4x4, especially on the two brown ones, and then the round steel posts. I'm also offering nickel silver rail posts. The code is the size of those are based on the scale and whatever the customer prefers, and also the round aluminum posts. Those look really good, but the aluminum posts are a little bit large and really only good for S scale and O scale. And the sign backs, they come in either simulated metal print, plain white, or a brown. I am also doing weathered signs. Most of these are on the website right now. The BNSF no trespassing signs will be up shortly since I've got permission from them now. And my cat is at the door yelling. You'll meet her in a second. What I do is when I make the weathered series signs, I make several, at least 4 to 8 and up to 16 different signs, so that if someone were to order 3 packs of the crossbucks and wanted them weathered, each crossbuck would be a slightly different weather pattern. It's more noticeable, of course, in O scale, less noticeable in HO and N scale, but it's my OCD. No two signs are going to weather alike, so I don't weather them. I also do custom signs with those services, city and town limit signs. They can have with and without the population or the elevation. On the right-hand side, Paradise, that, like I say, that's where I used to live until the entire town burned down in 2018. It also killed 85 people, unfortunately. My tribute to my friend Tim Dickinson, and the other signs that are on there, Borellieville and Behemothville, Pennsylvania. Those were custom signs that I did for both of them are O-scale customers, as a matter of fact. And I'll show you the actual signs. So I did street signs with them as well. The Northeast Alabama Multimodal Logistics Center, that's a sign that a gentleman requested that went onto one of his buildings. So these are custom signs that are finished. Again, the Borellieville and Behemothville are both O scale. I love O scale to work with. It's very easy. The street signs, the way I make those, I print up 2 sides and with the posts, I take a small bit of scale, 4x4 or 2x2, depending upon the post size, piece of plastic, glue the signs on either side, and those pieces of plastics are on either end, and glue the post up on the inside. And so I offer those. And then here in the center, these are N scale signs. I'm not totally thrilled with those. There's the drawback that I'll explain in a minute, but I do N scale signs, street signs, and others as well. These are done on photo paper, as are these, because they come out better on photo paper. Also going back just a little bit, these are standard signs for the MUTCD as far as the sign colors. This was a special request by him. This is actually PRR Tuscan Red that he requested for his signs. Also, oddball signs, yes, pretty much, as you all know, because now I'm not only chasing trains, I'm driving around looking at signs, which drives my other half up the walls. There is a prototype for everything. That stop sign in Myrtle Beach, California, or Myrtle Beach, Carolina, is 6 feet across. Apparently, people didn't see it and kept driving up that street. This crossbucks here is 2 feet. It's an itty bitty one, and it's a little branch line also in Myrtle Beach. And I've never seen one that size for a real train. This is my factory and storage facility where I do everything. I don't do it in my basement with my model table because everything would get lost in all of the shuffle. So that's basically the equipment, everything, the designing, where I store a bunch of stuff in 2 different printers to do all of it. My materials, I use scale 4x4 and 6x6 basswood. Both dimensions, like I said, are prototypical. I get the wood from Northeastern Scale Lumber, Kepler, USA, and also Mount Albert Scale, which is through Fast Tracks. All of them have been really great. It's just kind of price shopping and what may offer the best shipping for me at a time. The metal and aluminum posts are all K&S metals. The size varies by the scale that I use, but I generally do 2 sizes per scale depending upon what kind of sign it is. And I also recommend any of you who do work with metal posts and want to glue them onto the signs, clean them before you cut them to length. And I just use a little bit of Windex on a paper towel and I wipe them down, and you'll get some oily residue from the manufacturing process, and you want to get that off before you glue them on. I also offer nickel silver rail in all of those codes. They're off to the right, and I use the nickel silver, the micro engineering nickel silver. So just a small little bit for that. Sign materials, I use a heavy, high quality cardstock. And the reason I use cardstock is that's what the EM used before me. It's a little less sturdy, of course, than plastic, but it's a little more prototypical in thickness. I do 120-pound cardstock for S&O and 90 pounds for HO&S. It took me a long time to find the right cardstock, and I keep experimenting to find even better ones. The drawback to the cardstock is the negative white letters tend to look a little bit fuzzy, especially in N scale. And the reason for that is it's not being printed, and a little bit of the color on either side of the white will bleed just a hair bit. For the sharper images, those small street signs, I use photo paper, and that's especially important for that negative white letters in the small N scale signs, like street name signs. The drawback is I cannot print the colors, say the simulated metal on the back of the signs. Inkjet, it'll smear for days. So I'm experimenting with other ideas with that, maybe just a light coat of paint after the signs are made, something like that, but we'll see. The design and manufacturing process, I do internet search, and I go out in the field, I go to the museums, railway signage, the MUTCD signs, their standard signs. That resource is out all on the website. There's also a website called trafficsigns.us. He's got a whole bunch of good information on there. I don't know what he does for a living, or he has a lot of free time because it's extensive. I do screen grabs and download it. I personally use Snagit. Because it's easy to custom rotate and crop the images to exactly what the size I want. And then I migrate them to PowerPoint and Word. There's a whole great way of creating signs and things like that, and I'm not going to get into. I thought I knew a lot about it because I also teach in law enforcement, and I've been doing that for years. And I'm really good at creating PowerPoints and things. But then I saw Phil Lindholm do a couple of shows here on New Tracks, And Greg Cassidy's been a volume of wealth of stuff. So I'm not going into any of that. For those of you who haven't seen those, go into those and really check what they're doing. And I also mostly use Snagit editor and then Photoshop and Paint, a combination of all of those to make my stuff work. To add the rest on it, the best one that I found is Shutterstock. It's fee-based, so plan out what you want to get and then buy a short subscription and try it, download everything you want, and then don't keep paying $20 a month for it unless you really need it. This is just a screen capture of the MUTCD, one of their many pages. These, I can offer any of these signs and you all can make them too. Just depends upon how you want to do your time. Screen capture, I'll do a Snagit of say one of those signs and scale it out. Oh, by the way, all the signs are to scale. Whatever the scale in the prototype is, that's what I make them to. Also on here are the color charts for the different MUTCDs, the modern ones. This is all primarily from Traffic Signs USA website. Again, check that website out if you're really into this. If you're a sign nerd, it's great. Some of the yellows are different in different ones, and I've experimented and I kind of came up with that one that kind of matches some of the brighter yellows that are out there. And then the print cut process for the larger signs, I use the silhouette machine, which is right here. The grid pattern makes it real easy to position the signs. And even if I'm going to hand cut, which I end up doing for the smaller signs, because the silhouette for the small signs will tear a little bit. So I'll cut them out that way. Once they're cut, that's what this folder or box here has, is all of it, a bunch of different signs. These I think are HO signs. And then the posts that I cut. So 6x6 brown, then the creosote 4x4, creosote 6x6, and make them in large batches, stain them accordingly. And this is someday I'm going to take this on the road and go to shows, and this will make it a lot easier for me to do this. And this is the workspace there. I use an ultimate cutter, an ultimate sander. Seems to me somebody who's ever doing this has been on the show. They're very proud of these, but they're really worth it. I really like them. So I can cut them into strips like that, then I make them into the small signs. Different scissors. This is a small curved pair of scissors for doing the edges, the corners of around the signs. Very, very sharp. You have to get high qualities to get the cut so that it doesn't. I have found in experimentation that when gluing the wood or the metal poles to the cardstock signs, the Gorilla Glue super glue, sort of a medium viscosity, and that seems to work the best. Modeling tip, right on the bottle when you open it and puncture that thing so you don't mix them up. I've got 2 or 3 bottles, and some are more solid and leaves them for different things. Then I just put a little drop on a piece of cardstock and dip the things into the signs, and then I've made several jigs to make the individual signs. Then making the jigs has been really helpful, but it's also been a learning curve because some of them didn't quite work out as good as they hoped, but they're getting a lot better. Then the production process, again, cutting them on the jigs, putting them on the jigs, gluing, same kind of thing. When I dip the, say the post into there and then put pressure on it for 10 to 15 seconds, it'll stay. The only negative that can happen is sometimes the glue will bleed through and now your sign is stuck to the jig, which is a pain in the butt. I also then set them on an old cutting mat because I have found, I don't think I did, none of the pictures I have, I originally was setting these signs after I pulled them out of the jig, I set them on my desk And you can see all these little dots here. That's glue, that's from the fumes. And now I have a bunch of these on my desk. So use the cutting mat, trust me. Part of early on in my thing, it's just me making the signs, but I ended up with a quality control team that was involved. And that's who's been yelling at my door. She's a rescue cat. Her name is Raja. And I was out of town when the fire burned everything in Paradise down. She was outside. She stays outside when I teach. And she found a culvert or something to hide in, and she survived the fire. So she's involved in everything. So she is my quality control and inspector person. This is what we do when I'm sitting there making signs. She's right there inspecting everything I do. She does it very closely. She also proofreads to make sure that I've spelled things correctly. Supervises me whenever I'm doing. And then as all people that might work for the government, immediately when she's done, she takes a nap while working. Here she is intently examining a Canadian crossbuck. And if I'm too busy building and working, I use her as an armrest, which really annoys the heck out of her. And if you can't annoy your cat, since they annoy you, is perfect for it. She also involves herself in the photography process. Here she's guarding me from whatever happens to be out in the forest. And I did have everything all set up, or my other half had everything all set up one time for a photography thing. And she came over, sat down and swiped it, knocked it all off with her tail. One of the benefits of having a quality control person involved is, and this is also a consumer warning to those of you who may buy one of my signs, apparently my signs, one or two of them may have a mind of their own. And fortunately for me, I found out that one of my signs was about to attack me. Fortunately, my quality control inspector jumped onto this offending sign and killed it before it could hurt me. So that's what she did to help out. And I figure I'm going to use that as a traffic accident on my layout at some point in time. And packed and ready for shipment. These are all O-scale stuff. These are some HO and some O-scale stuff. This is what they'll come packaged in, except for, say, the street signs, which will come in a plastic box. And now that I actually was able to do this for you all, I appreciate the time and inviting me in, Jim. Thanks.
Well, Rick, I thank you so very much for doing this. I'm really impressed with your signs. I've got some of them that you were kind enough to send me in both HO, S, and O scale, and they are beautiful. They no question about it. They're first class, and I like the way that you vary the wood and paint it white and age it. It's a first class job. It really is. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, now we're going to go to our door prize that Rick is going to offer this evening. And this is going to amount to $30 of any of his signs that you would like in any scale that you model in. And again, this is N, H, O, S, or O. And the door prize is $30 worth of his signs. And Phil, if you could run the winner for us, who must be present today. And the winner has to prove that he's present. He has to send me his email address so that I can send it to Rick, along with his home address where he wants the product shipped, and his telephone number that Rick can contact him if he needs to. So with that said, Phil, if we could select the winner for Rick's door prize tonight.
Mute. I actually ran this. This is a random number generator. And what it does is it gives me something to use. Actually, I'm not sharing it here. Hang on, let me share it. So I did was I vote for a real quick. Which screen did I share? I think I shared the wrong screen. Hang on. So generate a real quick random number generator, and it generates a row and column. And I just put this into gallery view. So this is in my view, not the same as your view, but if you're in gallery view, it might be the same. I'm in the third row, the fifth column which is Paul Egri. So Paul, you won. You can come off and mute there, and here we go. So you're going to be well signed now on your layout. Are you an O or an HO person?
But I'm an HO, but I'll be honest with you. The gentleman who had the who did the thing with the boy with the young boys, could you transfer this gift to that group in your name and mine?
I sure you can. Is that good with you, Rick?
Oh, absolutely. Let's tell you what, let's do both.
No, like I say, just send it to them. I'm not modeling right now. I'm just an armchair modeler, and it would just go to waste.
Okay.
That's good. I think that's great. And Paul, Rick, I will connect you guys up so that you can get together and do that. Thanks.
Well,
Thanks, Paul.
Rick,
Thank you, Paul.
you've got Frank's name and email and all that, right?
I will, one way or the other, we'll get a hold of him. If he's not on there now, what I would do is just give him a checkout code. But yeah, I'll make sure we'll get connected with him. I also, before I mute myself here, for the next 2 weeks, just because I'm a glutton for punishment, and if everybody's patient, also for the next 2 weeks, if anybody here purchases anything, if you do a checkout code at the end of new tracks for the next 2 weeks, 20% off from anybody that's watching.
Well, that's awfully gracious of you. Thank you so much, Rick. We really do appreciate your help tonight.
They just have to be patient, because if I get a bunch of orders, me and the cat, takes time.
I understand. Well, we were supposed to have Brian Bollinger of Best Models start his build along with his kits tonight. But unfortunately, his wife Jill is in the emergency room in the local hospital with an allergy attack. And I got an email from him about 25, 30 minutes ago, apologizing that he can't be with us tonight because they have no idea when she's going to be released from the hospital. So I told him no problem. He's not going to be able to be with us next week, and I hadn't scheduled him for next week, but he will be with us on June the 14th show. So this pushes his build along back a couple of weeks, but things happen, and you have to take care of your family first. So Brian, our prayers are with you, and wish Jill all the best. Now, with that said, we have got one of the great potential modeling real life videos I haven't seen in a long time. Phil found this somewhere, and if you listen to the wheels and you look at the potential radius of the curves and the size of the car, the modeling opportunity is unbelievable. So here's our caboose for this evening.
So those of you that didn't notice the red marks on the wall on the right.
That would be a track plan that Phil has drawn in. Goes right through that building.
Yeah, you can see the hoppers there, and when you zoom in, you can see that the tracks are there. Pretty interesting model.
Thank you so much for finding it for us, Phil. That was just great. Well, guys, that's it for this evening. I apologize for the technical glitches that we had along the way, but you know, a lot of it seemed to be what Zoom and YouTube were doing to us tonight. So nothing we can do about that except try to work our way through it. So Phil, Pat, thank you so much for a great show. And I hope everybody has a great week. And we'll see you next week, June the 7th, for another try at another wonderful show for you. Thanks so much for being here.